Welcome to Bill Builds, and today we're going to be making a mid-century modern planter out of some scrap cedar we have. So here we have some scrap cedar from some other project I had, and we're going to be making, I'm pretty sure you've all seen this before, but basically it's like a cross, and then it's like four legs, and I'll draw it up in a second, but it's used to hold the pot off the ground, and it's a mid-century modern design. Let's give it a shot. Let's draw up the design first. So I'm sure you've all seen this design before. Let me just draw it up and I can show you what I mean. Right? So there's like a cross in the center, kind of like this, and here is like a half lap joint, and then there's four legs that kind of chase the cross around, kind of like that, right? And that's the whole thing. The whole thing can be done with, I think, like a couple square pieces, which I think I might even have. Let's say we make them like 1.5 inches here. I might do like floating tenons with like dowels, right? So we'll have dowels between the board and the holes here, and the legs, and we'll use the dowels to kind of keep it together, because this is end grain, right? And we don't want end grain attaching to side grain. It's not really that strong. We don't want the pot just hitting the floor. So I think we'll use what looks like a noodle. We're going to use a dowel. Probably put 2 in each of them, right? Dowels will go in like that. And yeah. And then here will just be half lap, and that's easy. We can do that on a table saw. So let's get to building. We have... this has holes in it. We could probably get around the side here. We have this board, which we can clean up nicely. We're just gonna have to avoid this break here. We have this, and I think I have some more. Yeah, so we have more than enough. In fact, I think I even have another 8-foot length of this. So we'll do 1.5 inches. Well, actually, how long is this? Yeah, this is about... What is this? This is exactly 1.5 inches. That's how we don't have to resaw anything, right? So if you take a look, this is 1.5 inches. You probably can't tell, but it is. And I'd probably get both middle pieces out of this, but I might, if these are like exactly 12 already, they're 12.5. This one's 12.5. This one's 15. So honestly, I might be able to get both middle pieces out of this board. We'll cut this up, and then, well, first we're going to cut the center pieces out of this, and then I'll show you how we're going to cut the legs. Let's get going. Alright, so what you saw me do is measure out 1.5 inches from the edge, and that will be basically the entirety of the project. It's just cutting slices of that, and then just putting it together, right? Because this is already the right length. This is actually fine. I think this is 12.5. We'll deal with that. And then both of these are the right length. So what I did this off camera. I cut the longer board that you saw in the intro to about the same length as the other one, and then I trimmed off the edges similar to how I did this. There's really no reason to show that one as well. So these are now square. So now the next thing to do is to cut this 1.5 inch slits out of basically all of these, right? So we need 4 long ones and 2 short ones, and then we'll cut the half laps on the short ones, and then start assembly. So let's get this chopped. what you probably saw is the lights go out. That's because I popped the breaker. That piece of wood was binding the saw, and it caused the breaker to trip. So I'm going to finish cutting the other one. I reset the breaker, then I'll finish cutting the other one. Okay, so now that we have all of the pieces here, the next thing I wanted to do was cut the joint in the center of these to kind of join them like this in the center. I think, actually, to attach this, I know I mentioned earlier I wanted to use dowels to hide like the joint, but I think we can emphasize this joint a bit if we took some of this leftover walnut and cut little slices, so like thin pieces, and maybe put one across each joint like this. I think that would look really cool. Kind of like this, right? So we would this is a mess. Okay. So basically we would cut out a rectangle, right? Like this. And it would join them like that. I think that could look cool. All right, so now that we have this cut, it's a pretty good fit. There's a little bit of a lip here, but that might not actually be a problem. I can just put that on the bottom and then sand the top and no one will ever see it. But I think, let's check to see that it's the same. Let's see how long this is. 7 3/4, right? 7 3/4, yeah. This one is 7 3/4, 7 3/4, and this one is nailed it. I'll slice this down on the table saw, and then we'll just chop it up, and that should be good. And then in order to get this to fit in here, we'll use the same table saw. We'll use the same blade. Sorry, the same setup over there. I'll clamp this to the top, and we'll make a groove here, here. Do that in all of them. Bada bing, bada boom. We can glue this in, glue it all up, call it a day. Okay, so we had a bit of a hiccup at the table saw. I was trying to fiddle around with trying to figure out how to get the perfect width for this, and I kind of made this one a little bit too wide, which is where A connects. So I'm just gonna have to use the router now, and they're going to be a little bit shorter on the other three. Maybe we'll put this one on the back or something, but it's also really too wide, so I'm gonna have to somehow figure out put a shim in there or something. But I'm gonna salvage this because I don't want to have to cut this again, and I don't want to have to cut this again. So I'm just gonna use this piece, and the other ones are just gonna be a little bit shorter. But yeah, so I'm gonna run this through the router, and we'll cut those grooves. So here it is. It's out of the clamps. I left it for 24 hours because it's a little bit cold out here, and I wanted to make sure there was enough time for it to cure. So it's because it's a bit cold. But yeah, it's nice and sturdy. It's strong. The actual joints look okay. Once they are sanded flush and everything, it'll look really nice. I'm gonna go ahead and cut all the tabs off and then get started. So after the sanding, it actually came out amazing. I was able to fill out a lot of the gaps, which you saw me do in the time lapse. There was I used some glue and then I sanded to kind of close some gaps. That area that had like the big gouge in it from when I messed up with the table saw, you could barely even tell. It looks amazing. I think now we're going to cover it in this polyacrylic, and that'll be it. And then you'll get some B-roll of the finished shot. Here it is. It's beautiful. I really love the finish on it. I put 3 coats of polyacrylic. It came out gorgeous. It's very shiny, as you could see. I put 3 coats, set it to 220 between each, and then finally I polished it off with some brown paper bag I had, which really brings out the shine and really just makes the finish look beautiful. If you are applying polyacrylic, 3 coats makes the difference. 2 is okay. 3 really makes it look professional. And then once you polish it off with that brown paper, it really just makes it look like an actual showpiece. I think it's just gorgeous. It was the perfect finish for this. I think after all of the hard times I had with making these joints. I think they came out beautiful. Some of them are actually perfect. I would say after the sanding and everything and filling with the glue and the sawdust, I think makes it look beautiful. Even this big joint here where you saw me do on the table saw came out great. It's strong. It's perfectly fine. I think in woodworking, specifically, it's not a mistake unless you can't fix it. I would say if you're a beginner, put screws in here or use dowels. It's probably the quickest. The half-lap joint is probably something you can't avoid, but it's pretty easy to do on the table saw. As you saw, you make a simple sled, you cut it out, and I think it looks great. So if you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments below. If you think I could have done anything differently, please put it down in the comments below. And if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you disliked it, give it a dislike. But thank you guys so much, and thank you everyone for watching. This has been Bill Builds. I did the whole intro without this. Look at that. Sir, what do you think the next opportunity is to make a new video? Crap. One of the things I probably would do differently is, I don't... Damn it. Alright, let's try that again.